The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to our webinar today. My name is Tanya, and I'm the marketing manager over here at Trusses Solutions, which is now part of the Great Tech Group. Just for those of you who are new with us today, our STAR solution MWF, which stands for Metal Wood Framer, is our Revit-based BIM framing solution that automates the creation of walls, floors, ceilings, and trusses in light gauge steel and also in wood. So today, however, will be a short but sweet webinar. Our technician Paranaz will be walking users through how to generate trusses using truss profile commands. So this includes how to create envelopes with truss profile commands, how to edit envelopes using the truss tool commands, and also how to generate trusses using the truss manager. So just before we get going, I'd like to remind everyone that at the end of the webinar, we'll be taking a couple of live questions. In order to be selected, please press the raise hand button on the dashboard. Just please also make sure that your mic is working correctly. If you'd prefer, you can ask questions throughout the webinar by typing into the questions tab of the GoToWebinar dashboard as well. All right, that's it for me. I'm going to hand off to Paranaz now.
Hello, everyone. Today, we are going to see how we can create envelopes using truss profiles. In one of our previous webinars, we tried to generate envelopes using line-based command. But this time, we can use the truss profiles. Truss profiles are an easier way to generate envelopes, but we would highly suggest you to use them for simpler roofs. So if you are having a more complicated roof, still line-based command is a better idea. So let me start with the roof. I just need to select the roof here. In truss profiles, the first command is common. When I click here, I just need to introduce a few references. The first one is the main ridge line. I select it and it shows up here. It's checked. The second one is supports. We have two supports for the common trusses and finish. And here for the support alignment, this is the new feature that is added to MWF. In the support alignment for layer alignment, we can select between the structural layer and the entire wall. And also we have an option to add for the wall alignment, if we want it to be aligned to the far side of the support, the center of the support, or the near side of the support. And the last option that we have is for cantilever offset. For the cantilever offset, if we want like the wall alignment to be set to center, but still we need to move it for 1 or 2 inches, we can just come here and add 1 inches. And then there will be, and then the heels for the truss will be placed 1 inch from the center of the structural layer of the wall. Again, we can have these settings for both supports at one point, or if I uncheck this option here, when I hit OK, the other support will show up, and then we need to add the settings for that one as well. On the right, we have for the options, we can select the start point and end point. If it's bilinear, we just need to select 2 points, and we can also select by face. In this case, when I hit pick, we can select the face of the wall. So I can select this one and this one. But for now, let's set this one to 0. We can also change the spacing. By default, it's set to 1 foot, but we can change it to 2 feet. And we have an option to add offset from outer face. So if we are having any sheetings and we need a gap between the outer face of the roof and the envelope that we are generating, we can just come here and add the offset. We can add the offset as 2 inches, or we can also leave it at 0. When it's set to 0, it means that the envelope is fully aligned to the outer face of the roof. We also have the information for the roof, the pitch, overhang, length, and height. These are the truss details for common trusses. And on the right, we also have an option for create lines only. If you need to just generate the lines in your project and later on using those lines for the line-based command, you just need to check off this option. In this case, you won't get any envelopes and there will be just lines with the 2 feet spacing based on the pitch of the roof. And let me hit OK, and the common envelope trusses will show up. So if I just select one with the supports and HI to isolate them, you can see that we selected the supports to be aligned to the center of the structural layer of the wall. So if this is the wall, if we go to edit type in edits, you can see that it's not a symmetrical wall, and that's why when the heel is aligned to the structural layer, it's not aligned to the center of the wall. So let me type in HR and back. The next step that we can take is to generate a hip truss. So again, I just need to select the roof, hip, supports, and then the hip lines. Again, as the line-based command, I personally prefer to work in the 3D view because, for example, when I'm selecting the hip lines, it's important not to select one for the outer face and the other one for the inner face. But in the 3D view, I can easily just zoom in and select them here. So let me hit finish. Again, we have the options for the support alignment here. So we will set it to structural layer and center and OK. The truss details for hip trusses, we just have the information for the pitch, but we also have settings for generating multiple envelopes or single envelopes. For multiple envelopes, we can add offset from hip intersection, minimum height. So it means that if the trusses are going to be less than 1 foot, they won't get generated. So you can add the settings for the minimum height of the trusses too. We can change the spacing here again to 2 feet, and we can add offset from outer face. But for now, we can just select single, and when we select single, the minimum height and the spacing would gray out. And we can just add the offset from hip intersect. So we can add 2 feet here and offset from outer face. And OK. So this is, sorry. So this is going to be our hip envelope. The next step would be generating a few wedge envelopes. So I just need to come here and select the wedge. Just one support and the hip line. And OK. Here we have more options for the settings. Again, we can add offset from outer face, but we also can add the detailing tolerance and the setback offset. We will see that when the envelope is generated, but these envelopes are the center line of the truss. So if we are having any connections, those connections cannot get placed at the point, and we need a detailing tolerance for the member to get generated. And that's why we have this option here to add that detailing tolerance. So for example, if the bottom chord is a 400 member, we can just come here and add 2 inches of detailing tolerance because there will be an offset from each side for 2 inches. And also we have an option to add a setback offset for the heels. So we can add 2 inches of offset here as well. Again, we have the truss details for ridge trusses, and also we can create lines early. We can also select the last truss, which is the hip truss that we just generated. If we don't select the last truss, it will go through the whole ridge line. But if we select the last truss, it will stop at the hip envelope. Great, so I'm gonna select this one here and the hip and HI. So as you can see, the bottom quartz lines are not connected because we added 2 inches of detailing tolerance. And the line that represent the heels is having a 2 inches of setback offset as well. Let's say HR and back, and we can try to generate ridges for the other side of the roof. Again, support, hip lines, and last truss, and 2 inches of detailing tolerance and 2 inches of setback offset. Great. The next option that we can use here is ridge and parallel jack. So I just need to select the roof and select ridge and parallel jack. Just one support, one face, and the last truss. We can again set the spacing. We have an option for adding the settings for the minimum length. If the length of the truss is going to be less than 1 foot, it won't get generated. We can add the detailing tolerance and setback offsets for the connections. And we can also add offset from hip girder here on the top. Again, we have the option for offset from outer face, but we will keep it at 0 because we added it to 0 for all the other envelopes. And we will get these two. So if I select these, and HI, this is going to be the hip envelope, ridge envelope, and the jacks. We can do the same thing for the other side. Again, we can set the wall alignment to center, the spacing to 2 feet, detailing tolerance and setback offset, and offset from hip girder. And for now, that is it for this side. We will come back and finish it here, but we can also come here and select the roof and add the hip envelope. Again, the supports and the hip lines. The wall alignment is set to center. We are going to generate a single envelope. And OK. And now we also have a command where it will generate envelopes for the whole hip end. So in this case, I just need to select the roof here. And the last command, which is hip end command, I just need to click on that. The first references would be hip lines, side support, the other side support, and the end support, which is going to be the end wall here. We need to also select the last truss because if we don't select the hip that we are having here, it will generate envelopes for the whole hip head. Again, we can assign the spacing, minimum length, detailing tolerance, offset from hip girder, and setback offset, and OK. Great. This is all done. If I come back here, we also have another way to generate the hip end envelope, so I can delete these here. And this time we can try to just run the command in 2 steps. So I just need to select the roof. In hipped, we can select perpendicular jack. Again, we just need to select the supports. Sorry, I forgot not to delete the ridges. Perpendicular jack, the supports, ridge trusses. So we can just select the ridge envelopes that we are having in the model and the hip lines. And we can also select the last truss. We can set the wall alignment to center and OK. Again, the minimum length is set to 1 foot by default. The spacing, we can change it here to 2 feet. And we can also add the detailing tolerance and setback offset and OK. Great. So this is how we can generate envelopes in our model. We can also try to generate envelopes for the other side of the roof. It's going to be quick this time, so just the common trusses, main ridge line, and the supports. You just need to change the spacing and OK. Now we can just create one hip, supports, and the hip lines. And this time we are going to keep the offset from hip intersect to 0 and OK, so we will get a hip envelope at the intersection. Now we can select the whole roof and select hip end. Hip lines, side support, the other side support, and the end support. Because the hip envelope is placed at the intersection of the roof, we have an option to select it or not. I just selected it in case. All of the settings are still here, so we can just hit OK and we will get the envelopes for the hip end. The last command that we are going to try is valley trusses. So I just need to select this point of the roof and click on valley. Main ridge line again, valley lines, and last truss. We have an option to select supports too, but at this point, if we are not having it and this option is optional, we don't have to select it. So let's set the offset from valley intersect to 2 feet, offset from last truss 2 feet, spacing 2 feet. We are not having any offset from outer face or stop trusses. And OK. And we will get this valley envelope as well. So now we just generated envelopes for the whole roof. If we want to finish our project quickly, we can come here in Truss Manager. And here we will have a list of all the envelopes and trusses that we have in our project. If we select on any of these, it will highlight in our model. So we can make sure that we are selecting the correct envelope. So for example, SJ001. If I check off this option here, we can see that we have 8 similar envelopes in our model. We can assign the presets. We can assign 350S to 800S, presets here. And then on top, we have the option to say create selected trusses. If we just create them, it means that we are not going to design or analyze these trusses. Just the trusses will get generated in our model. The next one is analyze and create reports for selected trusses. So if we analyze them, in that case here, we will have a check, we will have a green check. And on the right in the table for reports, we will have the list of all the reports that we generated for that specific envelope. And then the last one is edit selected trusses. If we check off the one that we want to edit and hit OK, we will just have that specific truss in, we'll have that specific truss opened in the truss designer page. That is it. So I'm not going to hit OK because it might take a few seconds for now. But the last thing that I just wanted to talk about today was how to use truss tools. So I can select one of the envelopes that we are having here and HI to isolate it. These envelopes are Revit model groups. So at any point, we can just come here, double click, and edit the group. I can delete the line on the center and hit finish. So all the common envelopes in my model will change. And the next step, I can just select the envelope and click on scissor. We have an option to add the elevation. It's set to 2 feet. And we can also say apply to all instances of the same group type or uncheck this option. So in this case, we will just modify this specific envelope. We can rename it because we don't want it to have the same name as the other common trusses. And this is going to be the scissor envelope in our model. Let's say HR in our model and select another one. I just selected exactly the same one. HI. Okay. And now in this time, I can select this envelope and click on split cap. We can add the settings for the height of the lower truss and the gap between the trusses. And OK. And this is how it is going to split the cap. The other option that we have in the Truss Tools commands is how to add supports. We went through this option in our previous seminar as well. I'm just going to add one here quick. So for this 3 envelope, when we want to add a connection, we can just select them all and click on Auto Truss Connection. It will add 2 validated connections between these 3 envelopes, and it means that when we are analyzing these trusses, we will have the load informations of the supported truss and the supporting truss, and we can have the supporting truss as a support for the supported truss. So that was it for today. We can get back to Tanya now.
Awesome. Thank you, Parinaz. So we have a couple of minutes if there are any questions. So I'd just like to remind everyone that if you'd like to pose a question live, you can do so by raising your hand. That is, you click on the hand icon in the control panel. Just please make sure that your audio is working correctly as well. And just while we wait for any questions to come through, I'd just like to let everyone know that the recording of the presentation will be sent through tomorrow. As always, please feel free to share the recording with any colleagues. And if you're looking for the recording a little earlier, you can typically find it at the end of the day today across our social media channels. All right, I'll just give it a couple of seconds, see if there's anything that comes through. All right, well, that looks like it's a wrap for today. If there are any questions, if there are any follow-up questions after we have closed the session, please feel free to reach out to us. Our contact details will be provided along with the recording tomorrow. As well as if you'd like to set up a one-on-one demonstration, we'd be happy to get that done for you. All right, well, we'll now be ending the webinar. I just want to say a big thank you to Paranaz and also thank you to everyone who tuned in today. Have a great day, everyone.
Have a great day.